After another temporary marking, I leaned against the headboard, slowly coming to my senses from the extreme dizziness. My glands were swollen and burning, and Oliver's voice in my ears was as if it was soaked in water, muffled and not very clear, but it wasn't hard to sense the sarcasm in his words. One temporary marking should be enough for you to report back, right? I tilted my head back and forced a smile at the corner of my mouth. Yeah, thanks. Can you come home with me for dinner this week? My dad wants to see you. Oliver raised an eyebrow, a flash of disgust crossing his eyes. Does he want to see me, or does he want to see the project proposal in my hand? He had a playful look on his face, then suddenly reached out and pinched my face, forcing me to meet his gaze. Tell him not to be so eager for quick success and instant benefits. After all, he was willing to sell his only son to me, a mere project. I'm not unwilling to give it up. The bedroom was filled with the strong smell of alpha pheromones, making it a bit suffocating. He was angry. I calmly lowered my eyes. Okay, I know. I'll go back and tell him. It was like punching into cotton. Oliver couldn't stand my submissive and spineless appearance. He got up, slammed the door, and left. I half leaned against the headboard and reached out to touch the gland with deep bite marks. I couldn't help but wonder how things between Oliver and me had ended up like this. After all, we used to be really good friends. Back when I wasn't an omega. As a beta, I had an artificial omega gland implanted and was pushed into a marriage of convenience. I didn't refuse, but for Oliver, this was undoubtedly a betrayal. Betrayal, yes, a betrayal of our innocent friendship. In his eyes, I was probably a hypocritical, selfish, heartless person who would stop at nothing for personal gain. My father was quite displeased. Why didn't Oliver come back with you? Be like this. On the weekend, I went back home. I went alone. My father was quite displeased. Why didn't Oliver come back with you? Did you do something wrong again and make him angry? I couldn't help twitching the corners of my mouth. It wasn't that I didn't do well. No matter what I did, he'd get angry. Okay? But on the surface, I still replied respectfully, he's busy. He asked me to tell you that the contract for the land in the west of the city can be signed next week. Only then did my father's expression improve. He snorted and said, sit down and eat. The dishes on the table were quite sumptuous. It was late autumn, and the hairy crabs on the plate were big and plump, glistening with a vivid sheen. But I'm allergic to crabs. In our family, only my older brother likes eating crabs. Just looking at them makes me feel itchy all over, and my glands itch terribly. I reached out and scratched. Remember to go for a gland recheck this afternoon. Don't mess it up. I put a mouthful of rice into my mouth, nodded without much enthusiasm. My older brother was waiting for the servant to peel the crab for him. Hearing this, he sneered and said, you're just an ordinary beta. That's about all you're good for. I didn't refute. After the meal, I went to my father's study and, as usual, listened to his lectures. It was all about how to please Oliver and such. I stared at the asparagus fern on the table, bored. It was my mom's favorite plant. At the end, I asked, can I go see my mom next week? As expected, I was rejected. Spend more time with Oliver when you have time. Don't think about all this nonsense. It was a not-so-unexpected reply. I left the room. If it weren't for my mother, I wouldn't let him manipulate me like this. He knows that very well. So even if I'm like a Pavlov's dog, when he rings the bell, I'll always be obedient. Are you coming back for dinner tonight? I walked out of the one family's villa and sent a message to Oliver. There was no reply. Guess he's not coming back. In the years since our arranged marriage, the number of times he's come back for dinner can be counted on one's fingers. After getting my glands checked at the hospital, Matthew asked if I wanted to have a meal together. I just had zero appetite during that meal at the one family's and lost the mood to cook, so I agreed. Matthew is my attending doctor, and later we became friends. He's one of the few people I can talk to heart. He didn't say much to me at the hospital just now. While waiting for the food, I noticed he seemed to have something to say but held back, and I kind of guessed what it was. Is there something wrong with my glands? Matthew nodded. You said your glands have been swollen and itchy recently, right? I just checked, and there are some rejection reactions. For the next week, it's best not to engage in any marking or similar behaviors. I was about to reply. The floor-to-ceiling glass on one side was tapped twice. I turned my head and met Oliver's deep eyes. There was a 2-second silence. I promptly stood up and walked outside. What are you doing here? Having a great time out there, Oliver said with a sarcastic tone. Might as well not come home at all. There's no fun eating alone when you're not around. Did I say I wasn't coming back for dinner? Does no reply mean I'm not coming back? This is just being unreasonable. I'm really annoyed. Still, I forced a smile on my face. Sorry, how about I go back and cook for you now? No need. I've got no plans to eat pig slop. I'm leaving. I swallowed my pride and followed Oliver. He totally trashed my cooking skills, but he never ate less when I actually cooked. What a show-off. As soon as I got in the car, I quickly messaged Matthew to apologize. He was very understanding. It's okay. I get it. Your alpha is like an overbearing emperor. It's better not to go against him easily. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Oliver shot me a sideways glance. I immediately composed myself and put away my phone. He didn't say a word, just remained in a foul mood all the way home. When I was changing shoes at the entrance, suddenly, a hand unexpectedly grabbed the back of my neck and pinned me against the wall. The mark is fading. We're going to Grandpa's for dinner tomorrow. Let's add another one. He was so strong that I struggled, but to no avail. Matthew's words just now came to my mind. Don't engage in marking or other such behaviors in the next week. I immediately shouted, wait a minute. Not today. Let's not do it today. Then when is the day your dad signs the contract? Okay. Oliver's words were like icicles piercing my heart. I froze for a moment and stopped struggling. I let him sink his canine teeth into my gland. A sharp pain spread from the gland all over my body. Oh well, I thought. After all, I owed him. I quickly cooked a bowl of plain noodles to fill my stomach, then stuffed myself into the bed and closed my eyes, falling into a drowsy sleep. I took a few anti-inflammatory pills before going to bed, but the next day, I still had a low fever. Fortunately, it's just a low fever. Today is the day when Oliver and I go back to the old house for dinner every month. I can't be absent. When I went to the cloakroom to change clothes, Oliver looked at me through the mirror and frowned deeply. I thought there was a ghost in the house. What a mean thing to say, although I did look pale and haggard in the mirror. But it's not that bad. Clean yourself up. Don't go crying to my grandpa and playing the victim again. When did I ever tattle? That time it was clearly, forget it, he wouldn't believe me anyway. The old house sent a driver to pick us up. In the car, I felt cold all over and had tinnitus. I managed to hold on after taking a few fever-reducing tablets. Oliver was beside me, his mouth opening and closing, and his expression getting more and more impatient. I stared at him, trying hard to make out what he was saying, but my ears felt like they were stuffed with cotton, and I couldn't hear clearly at all. Sorry, what did you say? Could you repeat that? I didn't sleep well yesterday. I was a bit sleepy just now. Don't put on that pitiful look, huh? And don't act all coy in that tone either. What on earth is my expression and tone? Is it that abnormal? I looked at his turned away face. It's not that exaggerated. At most, there's a bit of a nasal voice. When we arrived at the old mansion, the servants at home had already prepared a big table of dishes. Looking around, almost all of them were my favorite foods. I pulled out a chair to sit down, but Grandpa reached out and grabbed me. Benjamin, you sit over there. Here are the crabs they're going to eat. You're allergic and can't have them. Over there, we've prepared what you like for you. I was stunned for a moment. Thanks, Grandpa. There's someone who remembers the dishes I can't eat, but it's an elder with no blood relation to me. My eyes felt a bit sour. I blinked, forcing back that emotion. Oliver's mom was very enthusiastic, constantly rotating the lazy Susan to pick up food for me. Oliver tried to pick up food with his chopsticks several times but couldn't get any. He finally couldn't stand it anymore. Can you stop rotating it? Oliver's mother gave him a dirty look. Who should you blame if your hand speed is slow? Oliver's resentment over not being able to get any food lasted until the end of dinner. In the bedroom, he stared at my back with a sneer. You're actually their real son, aren't you? Right. Appeasing my family is more useful than appeasing me. After I finished making the bed, I turned around and blurted out, do you want me to appease you? Oliver's face immediately darkened. He turned around, walked to the bathroom, and slammed the door. Then a muffled voice came out. Don't disgust me. Right after the arranged marriage. That was also the time when my relationship with Oliver hit rock bottom. I genuinely felt guilty towards Oliver, so I proposed to my grandpa that we dissolve the engagement in 3 years. But Grandpa thought Oliver was bullying me, and Oliver thought I went to tattle on him. In the end, Oliver was lectured one by the elders in the family, and I ended up in hot water with both sides. Our relationship got even worse. He told me to behave and stop playing hard to get. I was speechless. In the end, I didn't bring it up anymore. This current way of getting along is the most harmonious period between Oliver and me, even though he still mocks me sometimes. Even though, well, there's a clear divide between us. We each cover ourselves with one corner of the quilt. An awkward atmosphere hung in the quiet air. We used to squeeze into the same bed back in college. It's quite a change, really. I sighed and quietly turned over. Suddenly, Oliver spoke up. I'm going on a business trip this Friday. The contract is ready. Just take it to your dad and have him sign it. Oh, silence. Hey, should I go get another blanket? It's a bit cold. Shut up and go to sleep. Oliver interrupted and quietly moved a little closer to me. On Friday afternoon, I grabbed the documents and drove to the one family's villa. Standing in front of my father's study, just as I was about to raise my hand to knock, I heard a conversation coming from inside. Dad, you can't keep Benjamin from seeing his mom forever, can you? He's bound to find out the truth one day. The truth? What truth? I pulled my hand back, and an inexplicable sense of unease welled up inside me. Let's put it off for as long as we can. His mother is dead and there are ashes. I don't believe he'd be willing not to take them back. My father snorted. There are always ways to deal with this little bastard. My mind went blank the moment I heard these words. Then, a sharp pain shot through my heart. The documents in my hand dropped to the ground. I struggled to clutch at my collar and fell to my knees. Who's outside? My father's furious voice came to my ears. Why didn't you announce that someone was coming? What the hell are you all good for? Why does it hurt so much? My vision went dark in waves. I completely lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, the familiar smell of disinfectant filled my nostrils. All I could see was white, and there was no one by the bed. I pulled out the needle and stumbled to get up. That's the scene Oliver saw when he came in. He frowned and pushed me back onto the bed. Stop acting crazy. Will you? Leave me alone. I have to get the ashes. I looked at him emotionlessly. Once I get the ashes, even if you want to get back at me, divorce me or even kill me, I won't resist. Please, Oliver. It was the first time I'd ever pleaded with him. Oliver's grip suddenly went slack. I broke free and started walking towards the door. Just as my hand was about to touch the doorknob, a strong force yanked me back from behind. Oliver pinned me down on the bed, restraining my hands and feet so I couldn't move. Can you calm down, Benjamin? When are you going to use your head and think? What can you do if you go over there now? Are you sure you can get it back? Oliver furrowed his brows and said mercilessly, you can't even break free from me alone. You're dreaming if you think you can take on two alphas. I stared blankly at Oliver and gradually stopped struggling. I'll handle this. With those words, Oliver turned and walked out the door. I lay on the bed and slowly curled up. For my mother, I'd married Oliver with a purpose, ruining almost half of his life. But I didn't even get to see my mother one last time before she died. Everything had come to nothing. How could my life be such a failure? It seemed like all I did was bring bad luck to others and was good for nothing. Oliver brought back my mother's ashes. I locked myself in the bedroom and didn't go out for days. Oliver called me, but it was no use. In the end, he fetched Grandpa. You've got to look ahead, Benjamin. Let's go to the seaside this week to relax. We'll go together. Promise, Grandpa. Okay? I couldn't disobey what Grandpa said. Thinking that Mom's biggest wish in life was to see the sea, I nodded. The 3-day seaside trip started off very smoothly, but then an accident happened halfway. The old man was swept into the sea by the waves. The old man was frail. Without thinking much, I just jumped in. Oliver's sharp shout of warning came from beside my ear. The seawater was icy cold, and my hands and feet almost instantly went stiff and numb. I tried hard to hold up a body almost as heavy as my own, and I felt my whole body gradually running out of strength. Maybe I really only bring bad luck to others. If it ended here, it wouldn't be so bad. I pushed Grandpa to the shore, then closed my eyes. I let myself sink into the sea until the last bit of consciousness faded away. I never thought I'd survive. My lungs and throat were in excruciating, tearing pain. I opened my eyes with great difficulty and found myself surrounded by people. When the old man saw me wake up, He quickly came to my bedside and asked how I was. I shook my head at him, indicating that he should not worry. This kid, why be so impulsive? I'm an old man. If I'm gone, I'm gone. But you're so young, how could you? Grandpa looked at me with a face full of distress. Benjamin, tell me a wish, and Grandpa will grant it. Don't you like studying plants? How about we open a greenhouse? I lowered my eyes, and a thought flashed through my mind. Looking at Oliver, who had been standing there silently all along, I moved my lips. I want to be with Oliver. You want Oliver to accompany you? You got married in such a hurry that you didn't even have a honeymoon. I'll ask him to take a leave and accompany you properly. A complicated emotion flashed across Oliver's eyes. Probably he felt disgusted. After all, even getting married wasn't his choice, let alone going on a honeymoon. But fortunately, you'll be free soon. I uttered the last two words, divorce. It was like a thunderclap out of the blue. As soon as these two words were spoken, everyone in the ward was stunned. Divorce? Grandpa's expression was even more shocked. Silly boy, why suddenly mention divorce? Did Oliver bully you again? That kid may have a sharp tongue, but he's got a good heart. Just now, it was him who went downstairs to carry you. I interrupted Grandpa. No, it's none of that. He didn't bully me. It's my own problem. My mind raced, trying to figure out how to take all the blame on myself and spare Oliver from being criticized. Finally, I managed to blurt out, I've fallen for someone else. I like someone else and don't want to hold Oliver back. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. Silence. Dead silence. A deathly hush. After a long while, Grandpa seemed to find his voice again and said shakily, well, if you two are getting divorced, surely both sides need to agree, right? What does Oliver think? Oliver had been silent ever since, but his eyes were terrifyingly gloomy. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see that he had been staring at me the whole time, as if trying to figure out what trick I was playing, or as if he wanted to devour me alive. I just kept my head down, picking at my fingers, putting on a good show of being guilty. A few seconds later, I heard him let out a barely audible scoff. He said he's fallen for someone else. How can I not agree? Divorce? I agree. Benjamin, you'd better not go back on your word. After saying that, Oliver turned around and left the hospital room. I didn't want to drag this out. I wanted to get the divorce paperwork done on the day I was discharged from the hospital. But Grandpa kept saying I should wait until I was fully recovered. There was no rush. I knew he hoped there was still a chance to patch things up between Oliver and me. So these past few days, I often saw him in the backyard, calling Oliver, telling him to come home and coax me, not to be stubborn. You're an alpha. Isn't it only natural to spoil your own wife a bit? Keep pretending, and your wife will be gone. Then it'll be too late to panic. After 2 beeps, Oliver hung up the phone. Henry was so angry that he kept hitting his cane. I slipped away quietly, a bitter feeling welling up inside me. I knew there was no way Oliver and I could reconcile. We were like 2 mirrors of different shapes from the start. How could there ever be a chance to fit back together? But I wouldn't tell the old man these things. He was getting on in years and couldn't take such a shock. Maybe it's a good choice to end things here. My body was gradually recovering, but I hadn't seen Oliver for nearly a month. It seemed like he was over the moon because he'd finally gotten rid of me, so he didn't even come home anymore. Was it really necessary? He could have waited until after the divorce to celebrate. I can't get in touch with Oliver. The messages I sent him always seem to disappear without a trace. There's no other way. I have to tell Matthew this news first. And by the way, schedule my omega gland removal surgery. I'm just not cut out to be an omega after all. I'm neither delicate nor romantic. I'm not good at sweet-talking people, and I always manage to make Oliver angry easily. I'm not a rose in a greenhouse. No matter how much I pretend, I'll never be one. Have you finally made up your mind? Matthew said as he was examining me. I thought you two were going to be entangled for a lifetime. No way. I never wanted to marry him in the first place. If it wasn't for... Matthew's hand stopped, and his eyes dimmed. About your mom, you should take it easy. It's okay. It's all in the past. I patted him on the shoulder, comforting him instead. I'm about to have my gland removed and start anew, right? So, what are you going to do then? I'm thinking of taking the postgraduate entrance exam again, and then study plants. Well, basically do everything I want to do. I'm with you on that. Matthew scheduled my surgery for next week. These days, I've been looking up a lot of schools online. The one I like the most is in City F, which is almost thousands of kilometers away from City A. Right before the surgery, I sent Oliver a message again. I'm gonna leave City A. If you have time, come back. Let's get divorced. As expected, there was still no reply. Before turning off my phone, I seemed to see the lock screen flash, but I didn't see the specific pop-up message clearly before Matthew called me. I answered in a hurry and put my phone in the locker, so I didn't see Oliver's reply. Who have you fallen for? A moment later, the message was withdrawn. It was as if it had never been sent. Ouch, it hurts. Take it easy. When Matthew was changing the dressing on my wound, I grimaced in pain. He unceremoniously teased, "Who asked you to be greedy for that piece of fried chicken? You deserve to have an inflammation. I'm about to be discharged from the hospital. Can't you say something more auspicious?" Matthew sighed. "Come on, I'll take you back. You have to be careful when you're home alone. Don't let your mouth run wild." Matthew is getting more and more naggy, but I know he genuinely cares about me, and a faint smile involuntarily appears on my lips. I stepped out of the hospital, and a gust of cold wind blew in my face. I shivered and pulled my coat tighter. I looked up and saw a black car parked not far away. It looked kind of familiar, seemed to be Oliver's car. As if drawn by some thought, the car window rolled down at the same time I looked over. I met Oliver's gaze as he sat inside the car. He seemed to have lost some weight and his hair had grown longer. His already handsome features looked even more striking. He stared straight at me, like a vampire lurking in the shadows. I was hesitating whether to go over, but Oliver got out of the car first and started walking towards us. He lit a cigarette. Through the curling smoke, I saw his half-closed eyes, filled with a hint of mockery. "You two are really inseparable," he said. His eyes landed on the hands Matthew and I had linked together. I instinctively let go. "Now you're free. Whether it's a serious illness or a minor one, or even if you're not sick at all, you can come to the hospital every other day. After all, your lover is here, right?" Matthew couldn't stand it anymore. "I think you're the one who's sick. Benjamin just had surgery. Can you watch your mouth? If you want to leave, leave now. Don't waste Benjamin's time." Oliver stubbed out his cigarette and slowly frowned. "Surgery? What surgery?" Matthew rolled his eyes. "You've been with Benjamin for 3 years, and you're asking me? What else could it be but the gland removal surgery? Do you know how much he's suffered because of that omega gland? And you keep biting him all the time. I think you alphas are all animals that think with their lower halves. It's so disgusting." As the situation was getting more and more out of control, I quickly grabbed Matthew, who was already red in the face, and whispered in his ear, "My gland is hurting again. I want to go back and rest early. Don't argue with him anymore." After that, I tugged at Matthew and tried to leave. Oliver took 2 big steps and blocked my way. "Clear things up before you go. Oliver, we won't have anything to do with each other from now on. Whether it's clear or not doesn't really matter, does it?" I gave him my usual smile and said, "I don't want to bring up the past. We'll both have a new start. It'll come soon. Let it end here." I walked a long way. When I subconsciously looked back, Oliver was still standing there. He looked like a silent black statue, a bit lonely in this winter when all the plants had withered. Strange.it was a sunny day. How could he seem so lonely? That word didn't really suit Oliver. I thought to myself. I left in a hurry that day and forgot to talk to Oliver about the divorce date again. The exam was approaching, and I couldn't help but take the initiative to contact him. After I dialed the phone, there was a moment of silence on the other end. Then his calm voice came, "Wait for me at home. I'll come to you." To be honest, I didn't really want to see Oliver again, but he hung up the phone right after saying that, not giving me a chance to refuse. So I had to change out of my pajamas and sit properly in the living room waiting for him. It was a bit like a contractor waiting for the client to arrive, and a client who's always late. It's at most a 20-minute drive from Oliver's place to mine, but it's almost an hour now, and there's still no sign of him. Just when I suspected that Oliver had stood me up, there came a knock on the door. I opened the door and stared wide-eyed. "Is it raining outside?" "Yeah." Oliver seemed not to care about his bedraggled, soaked state, forgot to check the weather and didn't bring an umbrella. I had to turn around, go to the bathroom and get him a towel. "So, when exactly are we going to leave?" Oliver cut me off. Why didn't you say anything? Say what? Why didn't you say anything about your glands? I thought you'd secondary differentiated into an omega. That's why. Just by looking at his expression, I knew that Oliver must have thoroughly investigated this matter probably on the day he returned from the hospital. But he really did look into it rather late. But now that things have come to this, there's nothing I can't confess. Can't say that. I shrugged. You know, I married you with an agenda. How could I tell you about that? If I had told you, how could I have tricked you into marrying me? Oliver's expression turned a bit ugly. You could have told me, could have helped you. Are you really willing to betray our friendship? What should I tell you? I asked calmly, rhetorically, that my mom is actually a mental patient, and my dad put her in a mental hospital with his own hands? I'm telling you, my dad cheated on my mom, and he even has a bastard son out there who's older than me. I told you I was in pain and hoped you could help me. Well, and then, we're just friends, Oliver. Friends can't share everything, so you'd rather betray me. Yeah, I admitted I was wrong, but right now, I've done the most I can to make it up to you. Wish you freedom from now on. Oliver, let's go get a divorce tomorrow. After that, we probably won't have anything to do with each other anymore. Wish you peace and smooth sailing. I got up and fetched an umbrella for him. It's raining outside. Take this umbrella. Oliver's expression cracked. After all this, you still want me to go back? I asked, puzzled. What else could I do? Fine. Just great. Oliver snatched the umbrella out of my hand. What freedom, safety, and smooth sailing. Divorce if you want. Such empty words sound so fake. You know, you've always resented me, haven't you, Benjamin? Actually, I can tell you don't like me. I was taken aback. The door was shut right in front of me. It was only later that I realized how absurd it all was. He didn't figure anything out right. The only thing he thought he saw was wrong. Of course I like him. It's clearly that he doesn't like me. Come on. He's actually shifting the blame. He's being completely unreasonable. The next morning, I drove to Oliver's place and stood downstairs, making 3 calls to him. No one answered. Oliver's annoying habit of not answering his phone is really getting on my nerves, suppressing the irritation in my heart. I was about to go upstairs to look for him. Fortunately, neither the butler nor the servants at the front gate stopped me. The bedroom door wasn't locked, so I just pushed it open. Oliver was lying in bed, with a fever-reducing patch on his forehead, and a thermometer placed by the bedside. Are you running a fever? Strangely enough, the anger in my heart subsided, replaced by a pang of guilt. He got caught in the rain yesterday and his clothes were all wet. I even let him go home in those wet clothes. But come on, for such a big alpha, how can he be so delicate? I approached him, trying to check his temperature again. Suddenly, Alpha opened his eyes without any warning and reached out to grab my wrist. Benjamin, good morning. When are we getting divorced? Oliver's grip on my wrist loosened a bit. He tilted his head back, looking up at the ceiling, as if he was sort of dead. Benjamin, I'm running a fever. Yeah, I can tell. He's even in his rut. Huh? After having my glands removed, I can no longer smell pheromones. Sorry, but I'm a beta now. So, could you not be so cruel? I widened my eyes in shock. What did I do? Alright, after all, I'm a beta now and don't have a susceptibility period or a heat cycle. It's pretty cruel to be hanging around him like this. It's pretty cruel to rush a sick alpha to get up and divorce, too. Well, contact me when you get better. Get well soon. I got up and was about to leave, but then, a strong force tugged at the hem of my clothes. Why can I still smell your scent even though you've become a beta? He leaned forward and slowly moved closer to me. Makes you want to take a bite. Hey, I quickly pushed Oliver away. It's all an illusion. I'm not an omega anymore, you know. Does it have to be an omega? An alpha isn't gonna bite a beta instead of an omega, is he? I've never liked omegas in the first place. Oliver said glumly. I've never liked it. He let go of the hem of my clothes. Sorry, I'm a bit out of it. No, it's okay. Somehow I asked him, so what do you like? Oliver didn't answer and lay back down, as if he hadn't heard me. It seems my father was wrong after all. Wrong from the very beginning. How could I possibly win someone over when I can't even get Oliver's preferences right? This is truly a sin. As I closed the door, I saw Oliver look in my direction. His lips moved. It seems like the mouth shape was saying I like from what I could tell. But exactly what he liked, I didn't catch. It doesn't matter, I guess. Anyway, it won't concern me anymore. Oliver's illness came on strong and lasted a long time. Every time I went to him to get a divorce, I could only see him lying sickly in bed, looking completely unable to get up. But I've already booked my flight to City F and I'm set to leave tomorrow at noon. Right before I set off, I mailed Oliver a divorce agreement. To be honest, I've been able to tell these past few days. It seemed that Oliver wasn't really eager to get a divorce. But exactly why, I had no idea. Surely he doesn't want to get back at me, does he? Because I trapped him in the marriage for 3 years, and he wants to get back at me. I was amused by this dark thought of mine. Oliver isn't that kind of guy. Oliver, he'd never do anything like throwing a tantrum or being sneaky. Even if it's his fault, he won't go chasing after that person to apologize. Instead, he'll act all stubborn and stick to his guns. That's just Oliver. Dear passengers, the flight from City A to City F is about to take off. I stood up and was about to queue at the boarding gate, but there was a dark figure blocking my way. I looked up. Who else could it be if not Oliver? You're leaving? Where are you going? Why so sudden? Why didn't you tell me? Caught off guard by his rapid-fire questions, I was a bit stunned. Didn't I say it ages ago? I already told him in that text message that I was leaving City A. I thought Oliver knew. And what's the meaning of him chasing after me like this? Isn't he still sick? Let's talk on the phone later. I'm gonna head to the boarding gate now. Don't go. Oliver's chest was heaving violently. Whether it was because his fever hadn't subsided, his eyes were even rimmed with red. Can't you stay, Benjamin? Why won't you let me go? Because more and more passengers gathered around to watch the scene. The ticket checking time is about to end. I was in a hurry and tried to shake off his hand. The plane is about to take off. Stop holding me back. Because I love you. My heart felt as if it had been struck by a small hammer. Without any warning. Completely out of the blue. After saying this, Oliver slowly unclenched his tightly grasped hand. Can't you stay? Oliver's voice was very soft, but it was clear enough to reach my eardrums. For about half a minute, we just stood there, face to face, without saying a word. Oliver was waiting for my reaction, and I had no idea what to do. I opened my mouth. I was just about to say something when someone bumped into my shoulder without warning. The flight to City F is about to take off. There are only 5 minutes left. Yeah, I'm on my way there. The man was on the phone and quickly turned back to apologize to me. Sorry, bro, I didn't mean it. I'm in a rush for my flight. I glanced down at my boarding pass. Almost instantly, I made up my mind. Our love has a time lag. He was taken aback. What do you mean? We just don't have that destined connection. Oliver. Eventually, I still boarded the plane. My relationship with Oliver was like a quagmire. The deeper I got into it, the more trapped I became. When Oliver said he loved me, I kinda wanted to laugh. He used to be so mean to me, and he clearly loathed me, and I could only hide my secret crush, not wanting it to be discovered. Then he started to open up to me, baring his heart, but I decided to give up and start my own life. A life without Oliver. So I said, we really don't have that fated bond. When I loved him, he hated me. When I decided to let go, he said he loved me. So, perhaps our love has a time difference, and I'm always out of reach of happiness. As the plane took off, its vibrating roar drowned out the bitterness and melancholy in my heart. I'm a native of City A, but coming to this northern city, City F, I didn't find it that hard to adjust. Both the climate and the environment here make me feel comfortable and at ease. The seniors and juniors are all extremely serious experiment fanatics. This week, they proposed going to the snow-capped mountains to collect biological samples in the wild and asked if I wanted to go with them. To be honest, I've been in City F for so long but haven't climbed any mountains yet. With half the intention of having fun, I readily agreed. The altitude on the snow-capped mountains is much higher. I couldn't adapt to it for a while and didn't feel well along the way. Fortunately, the guide took good care of me. He bought me medicine, let me inhale oxygen, and also taught me a few moves, saying they could relieve my headache. Benjamin, have a good rest tonight. If you still don't feel well tomorrow, forget it. We can just go and take the samples. I'll definitely be better tomorrow. When the car arrived downstairs at the homestay, I got off the car confidently and showed them my strong arms. I've been working out a lot. I'm just not used to it for now. After that, I was about to drag 2 suitcases out of the trunk and carry them upstairs in one go to show them my strength. A big hand with distinct joints took one of them from my hand. I was dissatisfied. What are you doing? Don't you trust me or something? I raised my eyes and met a pair of familiar, deep eyes. Oliver. What was he doing here? This was the last thing I expected. No wonder that guide was so enthusiastic and friendly with me all the way. Turns out he knew Oliver all along and sold out my whereabouts. After such a long time, seeing my ex-husband again, I didn't know what expression to put on. I just blurted out, "Did you sign the divorce agreement I sent you?" Oliver's face twitched for a moment. "No, I didn't." "Why not? I chased you to the airport to tell you the answer, and you're still asking me why." Oliver mumbled, "You're so thick-headed." He just picked up 2 big suitcases and walked ahead. I jogged to catch up and asked, "Why are you here?" "To chase you." His straightforwardness left me at a loss for words for a moment. "You said we had no fate." "Benjamin, I don't agree. We got along so well as friends. We should be a match made in heaven as lovers too." I was speechless for a moment, looking at his smiling almond-shaped eyes. When he wasn't being sarcastic, he was actually quite charming. "What kind of crazy idea is this? I'll prove it to you." Oliver's confident attitude made it seem like he was sure I'd be smitten with him. It was actually kind of annoying. "I don't really want to have any more interactions with you. You don't have to feel burdened," Oliver said. "If you don't want to see me, I won't come near you on my own. Just consider me as someone here for a trip. Treat me like an ordinary tourist." Since Oliver said that, I couldn't really say anything more. My junior fellow student was sharp-eyed and noticed something strange between me and Oliver. He gossiped with me when we were going to bed at night. "Benjamin, is this your ex-boyfriend?" I was non-committal. "Sort of. I remember you said you're from City A. He actually chased you all the way here. He's quite persistent. A scumbag in City A played with your feelings. You, poor guy, were heartbroken and fled to a city thousands of miles away. And now he's trying to win you back. Is that the story? The most important thing for you now is to uninstall that cheesy romance app on your phone." My junior fellow student pouted. "Well, if you don't like him, we'll definitely be on your side. We'll give him a hard time if the situation calls for it." "Senior, don't you think so?" The senior was never much of a talker. I thought he had already fallen asleep, but to my surprise, he actually responded with an following my junior fellow student. I silently slapped my forehead in the dark. I said, torn between laughter and annoyance, "Don't go provoking him on purpose. He won't do anything to me." This wasn't exactly trust in Oliver. Let's just say it was my understanding of him. After all, Oliver, well, he's never been the type to be persistent and nagging. It's just a matter of time before he gives up. After a night's sleep, the discomfort in my body indeed eased a lot. I went downstairs, and the enthusiastic guide grabbed my arm and pushed me to sit down by the dining table. "Oliver specifically saved his eggs and butter tea for you. You have a bad altitude sickness, so you need to get more protein." The guide emphasized the word specifically heavily. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Oliver turn his gaze towards me. I pretended not to notice and reached over to take the steamed stuffed bun on the side. "Thanks, but I'm not really into eggs. Eggs have a fishy smell, and I can never get used to them." Oliver naturally didn't know that, since I'd never mentioned it in front of him. His expression blanked for a moment. The junior's eyes rolled, and then, as if possessed by a drama queen, he put his arm around mine. "Benjamin, I love eggs. Can you give them to me? If you want them, just take them. Thanks." "Benjamin, I knew you were the best to me," the junior mentioned casually. "He used to often bring me breakfast when we were in the dorm. I like Benjamin the most." Oliver had a poker face, but the fist on the table was clenching tighter and tighter. I cleared my throat twice, signaling the junior to stop while he was ahead. The junior blinked his eyes, looking at Oliver innocently, and gobbled down the egg. Oliver couldn't take it anymore and stormed off. Oliver's gloomy mood lasted until it was time to set off. During the half-hour drive, he didn't say a word the whole way. When we arrived at the destination, the seniors and juniors went to take samples on their own. Oliver just quietly followed behind me and called my name. "Benjamin." "What for?" "I'm not dead yet." I raised my eyebrows, not understanding what he was talking about. "What are you saying?" "I didn't sign the divorce agreement you sent me, so we're still legally partners at least." "You can't do this. Benjamin, you can't cheat." I thought Oliver was being completely unreasonable. "So what?" "Our relationship is already in name only." He grabbed my hand, preventing me from going to the junior. "He's so young and naive. How could he know how to take care of you? If you're with him, You'll only be the one taking care of him. Look, Mr. Big Shot, I said, rolling my eyes. Do you really think you've been taking care of me when we're together? He replied. Oliver's eyes were intense and earnest, almost obsessive. I didn't want to keep arguing. Let go, I said. Instead, Oliver pushed his luck and stuffed my hand into his pocket. My frozen fingers, which had been stiff, instantly relaxed as they felt the warmth. Why are your hands so cold? He wouldn't even notice if your hands are cold, would he? I'm not cold. Let go. Oliver wouldn't let me pull my hand out. His unreasonable behavior was really annoying. I shouted at him. Let go. Almost immediately, as soon as I shouted, it seemed like even the mountain shook. I thought I was so angry at Oliver that I was hallucinating. But Oliver's expression grew serious. Something's wrong. The clouds in the distance hung low, and there was an eerie silence in the air. A snowflake drifted down gently and melted in my palm. Suddenly, the guide's shrill voice rang out. No! It's a blizzard. It was the first time I'd ever encountered such a situation. The howling wind, mixed with snow, came crashing down, stinging the side of my face. Oliver gripped my wrist tightly, and I was almost dragged along as we ran. Because I was running out of strength, the whole team's speed was getting slower and slower. I felt my vision blurring, gasped for breath as if on the verge of death. And with all my might, I broke free from Oliver's hand. You guys go ahead. Don't worry about me. I don't think I can hold on any longer. Everything was spinning. Just before my vision completely faded, I saw Oliver rushing towards me. His face wore an expression of anxiety I'd never seen before. When I opened my eyes again, I felt warm all over. I was completely nestled in Oliver's arms, wrapped up tightly in his big coat. Oliver was half closing his eyes, sitting slumped against the cave wall. Outside the cave, the wind and snow were still raging, a blur of gray. Oliver, I called his name softly. He opened his eyes, looked down at me and said, You're awake. How are you feeling? Are you hungry? I still have half a bar of chocolate here. Why didn't you go? Carrying you, I couldn't move fast enough, Oliver said. Luckily, there's this cave here. I sent the others to call for reinforcements. Don't worry, I'll make sure you're okay. That was a rather optimistic statement. Not to mention, with this weather, who knows when the reinforcements will arrive. At night on the snow-capped mountain, the temperature drops to a terrifying level. There's no fire in the cave. Most likely, the two of us will freeze to death here. What are we gonna do, Oliver? I mumbled, You're gonna die with me. We could have had just one of us die. Why did you have to come down with me? Why? I want to ask the same thing. Oliver said expressionlessly, pulling me closer. Why are you always so nonchalant, talking about death so easily? Haven't you ever thought about what the living would do? Even if I die here, it's my own choice. Don't be so self-righteous and feel sorry for me. I don't need it. Oliver got angry. I buried my head in his chest and rubbed it gently. That's not what I meant. I know. Oliver's voice sounded a bit hollow as it came from above my head. Did I treat you too badly before, so you won't even give me a chance? No, I retorted without thinking. You were the nicest to me before. You still remember that back in school? I was bullied by my brother and his gang, and you stood up for me and even offered to be my friend. I thought at that time, it would be so nice if you were my brother. In fact, apart from you, I didn't have any other friends. Only you were willing to be my friend. Oliver gave a muffled laugh. I thought at that time, this beta was so cute and looked so pitiful when crying. You were always crying on the balcony at midnight. You thought you were crying softly, but I'm a light sleeper, and I was woken up by you every night. You were disturbing my sleep, so of course I had to help you. Later, I thought you got cuter the more I looked at you. You're still cute now. I couldn't help but crack a dry joke. I won't be cute when I'm dead. Don't talk nonsense. We'll both live. Even if I die, I'll make sure you live. I kinda wanted to sleep. Oliver wasn't a talkative person, but he just kept talking and talking, not letting me close my eyes. I didn't know if I could open my eyes again if I fell asleep this time. I was woken up by the rumbling sound outside the cave. The intense white light made my eyes sore, and tears streamed down uncontrollably. Outside the window, the sky was as clear as washed, crystal clear and bright. I felt heavy on my body and I lowered my head. Oliver had stuffed his sweater and coat to me. He lay on one side, his raven black hair falling over his forehead. his face as pale as paper, like Snow White in a deep slumber, almost dead. My fingers trembled uncontrollably. Just as I was about to feel his breath, a familiar voice came from outside the cave. Benjamin, Benjamin, how are you? My junior rushed over and hugged me. His gaze fell on Oliver, and his face also changed. I don't know. Daniel, help me check that I'm too scared to look. Please help me. I was shaking all over. Don't worry, senior. The doctor is here. Another group of people rushed in from outside and skillfully set up the equipment. He's still breathing. Send him to the hospital immediately. Hurry up. Did you hear that, senior? The doctor said he's okay. Don't worry. Get up quickly. You need to go to the hospital too. I broke down and sobbed. Don't pay me back with your life, Oliver. Don't leave me with nothing again. Oliver caught a chill in the cave, and his aftereffects were much more severe than mine. When I had fully recovered, he could only lie in the hospital bed, drifting in and out of consciousness. One day, I came back from the research institute and, as usual, went to the hospital to visit Oliver. I saw him staring out of the window. The long winter had ended, and there were a few magnolia flower buds outside. I raised my hand and knocked on the door. When he saw it was me, his eyes softened. You're here. Yeah. How are you feeling today? I'm fine. The doctor said I can be discharged in about a week. That's good. Oliver was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, we talked a lot in the cave that day, but there's one thing I forgot to mention. What? To apologize to you. I'm sorry, Benjamin. I used to misunderstand you, not trust you, resent you on my own, and say so many harsh words. I didn't even want to spend a little time to find out the truth. I'm sorry. What I really want to say is, I've loved you for a long time. A long time ago, I knew that even when I was resenting you, I'd always feel bad seeing your eyes getting wet in the heavy rain. Our love has no time lag. It's always been on the same timeline. It's just that I was so awful that we kept missing each other. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. No need, I interrupted him. Really, Oliver, no need. Now we're even. Oliver was taken aback. His lips trembled slightly, and finally, he uttered hoarse words. Yeah, we're even. I had betrayed him, and he had said some harsh things to me too. In the snow-capped mountains, the moment he didn't abandon me, I had already forgiven him for everything. That's why I said we're even. There's no such thing as one compensating the other. Grandpa said the family made chicken soup for Oliver today. Calculating the time, the servant at home should be bringing it soon. I picked up the thermos bucket and walked back to the ward. Standing outside the door, I heard a sound like a kettle boiling. Seemed like it was coming from Oliver. Why is he crying? What's going on? Puzzled, I pushed the door open and placed the thermos bucket by the bedside. What's with the tears? I just went to get you some food, and now you're crying? Oliver froze when he heard me come back. I thought you left? Where would I go? His eyes were red as he said, you said we were even. I thought you meant it was over between us. When I said we were even, I meant we could have a fresh start. I wiped his tears, feeling both amused and tender in my heart. What did you think? I stood up, and with a sense of ceremony, I held out my hand to him. Hello, Oliver. Let's get to know each other again. I'm Benjamin. Would you like to be my boyfriend? Oliver grasped my hand tightly. I'd love to.